Hello class. Today we are studying the Pythagorean theorem, something that you should have been going over since way back when. The Pythagorean theorem says that if a triangle is a right triangle, then the square of one leg added to the square of the second leg equals the square of the hypotenuse. So you have a leg squared plus a leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Or in other terms, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember that the two sides of the triangle that make up the right angle, so we have this side makes up part of it, this side makes up the second part, those two sides are the legs, and the side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. Okay, so for example, if A equals 4, so this side equals 4, and B equals 3, what is the hypotenuse? What is C? So we have our equation, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and now we're just going to plug these numbers in. 4 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9. Okay, so we square them both before we add them. That equals c squared. So this is 25 equals c squared. I'm going to square root both of them in order to get just c. And I get c equals 5. Okay, so this length would be 5. Things to remember about the Pythagorean theorem. And 1, it only works on right triangles. 2, a and b are the legs. They have to be the legs, but it doesn't matter which leg is A and which one's B. Okay, so if you get confused, you don't have to worry about it. Just make one A and one B. And 3, C is always the hypotenuse. Okay, the longest side is always C. Alright, so let's do some practice problems. On this one, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Notice I always write my equation first. Alright, now I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to make this one A and this one B. So I have 2 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. Okay, that 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 equals c squared. But I don't want c squared, I want c. So I'm going to square root both of them. And I'm going to leave this as the square root of 13 equals c. Okay, I'm not that worried about decimal points, just leave it as square root unless you can simplify. Now, the only factors of 13 are 1 and 13, so there's no way you can simplify that radical. Alright, I'm going to make this one A and this one B. So I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That means I have 7 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. Okay, 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. That equals c squared. And we're going to add 49 and 64. Okay, that's 113. So I have 113 equals c squared. And square root it to get c, because when you square root a square, you just get the number. So I have the square root of 113 equals c. Alright, moving on. Okay, now those last two worked if we were looking for the hypotenuse. In these two, we have the hypotenuse, but we're looking for another side. And it doesn't matter if you label the side B or A. It still works this way. You're going to take the hypotenuse squared, and you're going to subtract one of the legs squared. I'm trying to find b squared, so I'm going to say c squared minus a squared, and that's going to equal my b squared. Alright, so now I just plug this in. 10 squared minus 6 squared is going to give me my b squared. 10 squared is 100. 6 squared is 36. That equals b squared, so I have 64 equals b squared. I'm going to square root of both of them so I can get just b. B is going to equal, the square root of 64 is 8. So I have 8 equals b. Alright, and then this problem here, I have the A but not the B, so I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to have C squared, but I'm going to subtract the B squared. And that's going to give me my A squared. Alright, in this case my C is 7, so I have 7 squared minus 4 squared equals A squared. 7 squared is 49. 4 squared is 16. It's going to equal A squared. 49 minus 16. Notice how I show my work here? This is what I expect to see from you on your papers. Okay, so now I get 33 equals A squared. I square root it. And 33 breaks down to 3 and 11. Okay, so if you were doing your factor tree, you'd have 3 and 11, but neither one of them is a pair. So the simplified version is just square root of 33 equals A. And here's the one that you need to do on your paper. We have triangle ABC, where AC is 37.5 and BC is 20. Okay, I want you to find the length of AB. I want you to find the hypotenuse.